just interviewed the lead designer of the Universe mode, and the future is looking bright for this mode as well as for WWE 2K25. We have some major updates coming this year for the Universe mode. What's going on? I'm Jesse. Welcome to the Pro Wrestling Shoot. We're going to dive right into this interview, but make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all your WWE 2K25 news and details. Without further delay, here's the interview. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Pro Wrestling Shoot. I am joined today by the lead designer of the Universe mode, Cristo. Cristo, it is a pleasure to have you back on the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back. Always happy to talk with you about 2K25.
Yeah, man. 2K25 was a huge year for the Universe mode. We've gotten many updates, which is crazy in a way because when the game started advertising all the new features coming into 2K25, we didn't hear that much about the Universe mode. We really only heard that promos were coming back, but we got the surprise features of the calendars and some new rivalry actions and some other hidden gems along the way in Universe mode. How was this going into developing WWE 2K25? How did it make it different this year compared to others?
So I think one thing that really stands out is when it came to the promos, like this is a brand new system that we did from scratch. You know, nothing was recycled from the previous system. So all new mocap, new animations, all the code, all the data, everything in there kind of went in from scratch. And it was one of those things where we kind of went in a little nervous, like this is a lot to do for like, oh, it's just 1 year to kind of get all that stuff in. But it was really one of those things where we kind of got that push with like, we really need to make an effort to get some sort of promo in there. It might not be the perfect picture. I kind of talked about some of the difficulties and challenges of what, a new promo system might look like the last time we talked.
Yeah.
But I think what we kind of came out with in that short of span, I'm really proud of the work that our team did. Personally, I think it's really cool. And yeah, and I think some of the reception's been really good around it too. So
yeah, I mean,
people are enjoying it.
Yeah, listen, Universe mode is always like the fan favorite mode, and I think I speak for most of the community. Besides, like the Creation Suite is one of those fan favorites also, but for the most part, man, I think that the fans that play the game, the majority of fans that play the game, root for the Universe mode the most, right? So that's probably why, like, I don't know, some Twitter backlash happens sometimes if certain things don't happen in Universe mode, because I think that people just cheer you guys on, man, because this is the mode that the people enjoy playing the most, man. And I think that you guys did a bang up job this year, especially with the updates that we've gotten, a couple months into the game. So, once again, the new calendar system, the rivalry actions and the promos, which personally I enjoy. I would much rather, and this might give me some hate online, I don't care, but I much rather enjoy the promos that you have set up this year in the promo system, because I can see that it can build to better things later, and without all the fluffy dialogue that we used to have back in, like, what was it, 2K20, I think was the last one that had promos. Correct me if I'm wrong, but 2K20, 2K19, just promos that didn't really fit the character work. And this one, I feel like, kind of just gets right into what you're trying to do with a promo on the Universe mode. Was it difficult incorporating promos? Because I know that you guys were probably set out to do the calendar and the 2-day PLEs. That was probably on the list, last year. But promos, when I talked to you at Creator Fest, that was kind of like one of those, hey, we got to get this in before the deadline.
Yeah, so that was something we had done. It was in a pretty good shape, right? I feel like when we
Okay.
were at Creator Fest, so that was in there and working. I think something we really did with the promos, and I think you leaned into, is like, what did the promos lead to, right? In my mind, when designing this early on, was, if we can't really get the superstar VO and really getting that, capturing every superstar and kind of like their microphone presentation. One thing that stuck out to me, okay, is then what makes promo special, it's what do they lead into? What can they lead into? And so seeing those moments where, like, they go into matches right away, or they lead to a future match, or maybe they, superstar puts a stipulation on themselves. I think that's something that's really fun to sort of explore and get, those things set up into the future. So that was one thing we really leaned on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's different branching options too for the promos. And speaking of, was that was there any consideration of maybe adding different locations to cut the promos from in a rivalry action, like backstage, on the stage, locker room, etc.? Did you guys ever think about maybe incorporating that or
There's definitely a lot of areas we want to explore with that, because we're not done with the promo system yet. For future iterations, we definitely want to expand on this. This is not just like a one and done thing. You guys asked for it, so here you go. No,
right?
like we're happy with how it turned out. We really want to make it bigger and better, though, for sure. So more areas where they could happen is definitely one of our considerations. But for this year, like we really wanted to focus on like let's make sure this works in one specific spot.
Going into like the universe mode, everything is, I think it's safe to say that everything is tied into rival reactions, right? So we get the cutscenes, all the promos, everything. Is that kind of is it more difficult to incorporate everything within a rivalry action, or is is there another workaround to put certain cutscenes within the game?
Um, so there's definitely a couple systems when we look at how all these kind of cutscenes play out, right? Um, Through regular gameplay, you might see like a run-in sort of scenario happen, right? That kind of lives in its own system.
Okay,
But we've worked with our promo system and all these other kind of background systems to kind of like make sure they connect with each other and that they're compatible. Things like objectives, you see in showcases, the same system that we're using for setting up these self promo challenges in the future. So we're really unifying a lot of how all this stuff works together. That was a bit of a challenge to kind of set up for 25, but now that we kind of are in a good spot, we can really just build on that and things get really flexible.
awesome. So you mentioned certain cut scenes like run-ins and stuff live in their own little world. Is there any way to incorporate more of that in a future iteration of the game? Something like, superstars arriving to the building at the beginning of a show, or even, the, the show intros that everybody still wants back. Is that still thought of, or is it all going to be tied into rival reactions from here on out?
So we're definitely looking at some of those things for sure. Like again, there's a lot that we want to do. Not all of it makes it in every year
Okay.
for various reasons, but yeah,
Right.
they don't all have to necessarily rely on rivalry actions. We can build those out as we need to. But the way we've kind of set things up is that it's just easy to expand upon that stuff and keep building it up.
Copy that. Is there any plans to maybe? 'Cause I've noticed in like a lot of the cutscenes and rival reactions that they're not really specific. Is there any way to add a match specific rival reaction, like casket matches, extreme rules, hell in a cell, or any cinematic things that indicate what type of match you're going to have at the PLE?
They would have to. I think one of the challenges with that is that we need to have the cutscenes kind of built around those. So anything with the casket match, there's the interaction with the casket, and it
Right.
kind of limits it to just that one interaction. Whereas some of these ones with like mid-match distractions or pre-match attacks or whatever, those are typically more flexible. Unless you get something with like a steel cage or Hell in a Cell, anything that's surrounding the ring, preventing that sort of cut off from the ring and the ring side. So one of the things I kind of look at for those sorts of cutscenes is like how much mileage can we get out of these? Like how restrictive are these, and is there like a really special case for that? Um, I wouldn't say there's really like a sure formula for that sort of stuff when we're deciding when we want to do that, but there's definitely some unique considerations that we want to take account for when we kind of make some of those scenarios. Like if we wanted to do something to really celebrate Undertaker, then it makes sense that we get like some sort of casket match
Yeah.
cutscenes or something like that if we were going to be doing that.
Okay, copy that, man. Is so when we think of universe mode, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you've been one of the lead designers on universe mode for many, many years at this point, right?
Yeah.
And WWE 12 is probably one of the games that is looked at pretty highly in the community, and they had something similar to an injury overhaul, to where when a superstar would be injured, they would actually have their own cutscene of a return or anything like that. Is that a possibility in the way that 2K formats the universe mode now, like a return from an injury, or even a debuted superstar? Like we're just about to get some DLC, maybe adding them to your universe mode and having their own debut cutscene evolve within your custom universe.
It's something we can definitely work with to make some of that stuff happens, but a lot of it comes down to, again, like, do we have the content, the cutscenes to support that stuff?
Right.
It's not always as simple as just like, hey, we use this, over 10 years ago. Let's just go grab it and plug it back in, right?
Right.
There, a lot of those animations, if we even have the data anymore, need to be updated to match like new animation standards and whatnot. And assuming that they even have that quality afterwards, and that's when people are like, okay, well, no, this isn't going to really fit. We might have to do a whole new animation for this if we want to put it back in. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, how does this tie into like the resources that we have across the year? Is this something we can do? Is this something animators have time to work for compared to other stuff? Just kind of some insight into how that's or how we make those decisions.
Now when it comes down, you said make new animations. How difficult is that coming into the universe mode and making, just to give some clarification on background on what you guys do in a year's time, sometimes not even a full year, right? That you get to work on these games. But how much time does that take to create new animations for these rivalry actions and things that go within the universe mode?
It could take months to go from, we're specking this out. We're writing a script for the mocap and taking it into the studio, getting running the actors and the performers through everything, getting all that stuff in, getting the data back, cleaning up the data. How's it look in game? No, okay, we need to polish this stuff up. We need some, interactions here and there with the ropes are a little weird. Make sure this works with superstars of all sizes. Okay, now the cameras need to be worked to tweak little things here and there. So it could take a while to go from like just concept to finish, to get some of that stuff in the game.
And that's with like one cutscene.
Typically, yeah, I would say
Wow.
we don't do just like one at a time and then move on to the other. But there's a lot of them that can kind of, we get started in batches and get them polished through. But it's not like, okay, this is the one, we have this going here. It's going to be done. It's going to be worked on by someone all the way through. There's going to be, depending on priority of animations and whatnot, like it might be a while before someone gets to it.
Okay, copy that. So one thing that I think fans are really anticipating to make their way to the universe mode, we've been sort of stuck with the 1v1 rivalries, the 2v2 rivalries. Is there any chance of later down the line or even in a update coming within WWE 2K25 that we could possibly start to see multi-man rivalries, triple threat, fatal four-way, or even a build-up rivalry for war games and the Rumble and things like that going into PLEs?
So I'll confirm it's not going to happen as an update for 2K25.
Copy that.
It is something I really want to do, though. I don't know when or how or if when it's going to happen, but it's something I really want to see.
It's on the list
for 2K25. It is on the list.
Awesome.
That list is kind of big, but yeah.
Well, that's great to hear. At least they know that the the ideas are there, and that's really all that should matter to the community. I mean, whether they get placed in a yearly release, I mean, it is something that we've been asking for quite some time, and I know that's not fully on you behind the scenes. Like we've talked at Creator Fest and off air here on the Pro Wrestling Shoot, so I understand the situation, but definitely something that the community has been waiting for a long time. But now that we have promos back, is there any chance to see shows like Miz TV, Waller Effect, things like that incorporated within the universe mode?
It's something definitely we can start exploring. I hadn't really put that as like a priority to kind of look at for future iterations. It's more like we want to get as much bang for buck for the promos because there's a lot of work that kind of goes into them.
Yeah.
So make sure like we get a lot of good use scenarios for those. But that would definitely be something fun to do, to get these superstar hosted segments in there.
Right.
That could just be fun, like on little rivalry actions, like exclusive to these superstars. We have some for Undertaker. It'd be cool to expand that for some of the others.
And what I love the most about promos is they kind of gave us a look at what is possible for the future, right? Like you do have different scenarios that you could choose for the promos and things like, cutting a promo on the stage, parking lots, backstage, sort of like story designer. We used to have the story designer within the WWE 2K games and, the THQ side of things back in the day. But you used to have the choice of where you performed some of these cutscenes, and hopefully that can lead to certain rivalry actions later down the line, especially with promos or even, attacking your opponent, getting to choose where that location takes place. Maybe is that something that you guys ever thought of? Or
Yeah, it's definitely something that's been on my mind. Kind of, I feel like I've mentioned this before, but like getting that parity, Parity, not Prody, right?
you're
That
right, right.
parity with WWE broadcasting, and kind of like what are some of these events and these tropes that happen, and trying to like capture more of that in universe. And so you have a lot of those interviews with like maybe on the ramp or even backstage, and just like fights breaking out or
Yeah.
altercations with superstars and arguments and stuff like that. So kind of more of that I think would be really fun to have in universe and to get that in there.
We spoke last year about this subject, and they're going to kill me if I don't ask you. I'm sorry, but it's coming, and just answer it however you want. You've already given me the answer last year, but just for clarification for new viewers, draft. There ever going to be a draft within this mode again?
It's something I want to do. Right. I can't, again, it might be an eventuality. It might go on a list for a while, but it's something we definitely want to get back in there because that's something that's changed over the years since we last had it in, I want to say WWE 13 or 14,
Right.
with draft matches and whatnot, which was really fun to see that happen. And that kind of feeds into like a larger picture of universe where we have like a more of a living roster of superstars just kind of like moving around and bouncing between shows, changing divisions. I think the draft is kind of like a good way of kicking that off, to get those superstars like bouncing between shows and having a fun competition around it.
Right. And last year when we spoke, you said that it was just one of those things that would possibly damage the universe mode, and it just wasn't working properly when you guys took it out originally. Now that you guys have rebuilt that system, and you guys kind of have a lot more control and lockdown over it, you think that this is a possibility that this could function properly within the universe mode?
Yeah, it's a definite possibility, and
Awesome.
it'll, however we decide to implement it, like we'll have better control over it. We'll have better stability over it because we're making these things from the ground up. It's not something that we're kind of inheriting from previous uh, iterations of the game. So that's definitely something we can work on. And one of the things that always makes me worry about adding a new feature that could change universe in some way for players is how they respond to that. And it's like, oh, I didn't want this to happen. Like, why is this happening for me? So
Yeah.
one of the things I think we're trying to be really cognizant about is giving players control over this sort of things too, making sure they have like, oh, having the levers and knobs to adjust these sorts of things. Like, oh, I don't want my superstars to be changing shows, or maybe, I want to confirm this, that sort of thing. If we did do something like that. So
You
um,
guys should release some serious tutorials on some of the things within universe mode, because I think that if you know how to, like somebody like me who's been playing the mode for years, I kind of just know my way around this mode by now. But there are a lot of new players that pop in, and certain things are not working properly for them. And then content creators, like myself, will go out and make tutorial videos on what I know I can pull off within the universe mode. But yeah, there are a lot of things that can get tricky within universe mode if you don't know what you're messing with. And speaking of that, with the major updates and patches we see in the game each year, it seems, with each patch something kind of goes awry within the universe mode or anything else within the game. Do you have any insight on why or how this tends to happen, and why does it always happen to universe mode? Like, why is it the mode that I love the most that this happens to?
the reason why is game development's hard. That's the only reason I can get into it. It's just like it's hard. The game's big. People are working on different stuff, and universe kind of touches on everything in the game.
Yeah.
You have your gameplay, you have your cutscenes, you have all of the creation stuff, belts, or sorry, championships, superstars, arenas. All that stuff could be affected if changes are happening there. That could propagate into universe in unexpected ways sometimes. So it's just one of those, because universe, is kind of the nexus of all those things. It also makes it susceptible to like even just the minor changes there. I know there's some stuff that we're monitoring very heavily, trying to make sure we avoid. We don't want superstars having their championship scrambled again. We're watching that like a hawk, making sure that doesn't get it through. We're aware of like the match rules not behaving properly all the time, or sometimes. So we're
on like the
making fixes
custom
for that.
matches.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we're making some changes to that and trying to keep on top of that.
You guys have been killing it too this year, man. I feel like, the game hasn't been out too long, but we have gotten multiple patches already, and every single patch had something to do with the universe mode, either a minor change that was major to us players, or multiple major changes within the universe mode. So kudos to you guys, man, and thank you guys for staying on top of that, because I truly feel that this universe is it's got to be the best one that we've had so far. And I'm talking like from the THQ days to now. This definitely feels like the step in the right direction, and a look towards the future that we want to be with this mode, because once again, fan favorite mode. And yeah, it just means that much to us. So really appreciate you guys staying on top of that.
Thank you. And those are big words of praise, because when it comes to nostalgia, I feel like that's the hardest competition for this series. Everyone's always going to look back to a previous title
Yeah.
with fond memories, like this was the best one. And
A lot of
it's
people
hard to compete against that.
a lot of people love that WWE 12, but with the updates that we have now, and just kind of sticking towards like the modern day WWE feel, I definitely feel like this one is personally my favorite. I would have to go back and tinker with WWE 12 to really remember what was that great about it to begin with, but it's been a long time since I played that one. But so far, man, I'm having a blast on universe mode in 2K25. It's definitely keeping me engaged with the game, and less on my faction this year. I know 2K probably doesn't want to hear that as much, but universe mode, man, is keeping me busy, man. But going back into a couple of the rivalry actions, the one thing I think that players want to see the most when it comes to just cutscenes and rivalry actions is probably has to do with the championship titles. Is there any way to make these titles a little bit more present within the rival reactions, like building it? Because most of these rival reactions have to do with the championship match at the PLE or the upcoming PLE. And I think that everybody would really like to see that title more incorporated, because even with promos, when the champion comes out and they talk, they don't even have the title with them. You know what I mean? Is that something that the team has possibly talked about?
Yeah, we definitely want to get more championship visibility, especially when it comes to promos. That's something we definitely want to look at, implementing, it's in some way or another. For cutscenes and related to the rivalry actions, I know we have some championship specific ones in there. That one's a little bit tricky, because it's kind of like, again, that's going to usually take new
animations.
New animations, new mocap, all that time needs to kind of go into that. I will say one thing that should be incorporating the titles a little bit more for rivalry actions. One of the last updates we did, right, we enabled players to swap between outcomes and rivalry actions at PLEs, so you could have
Love it.
cash-ins if you wanted to have just kind of like a screw over or mid-match distraction sort of thing. Kind of expanding upon that, we're going to be, and this should be coming in with the next patch, I believe. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, send all the hate my way. But should be coming is that we have some base title match support for some rivalry actions. What that means is that if you customize a title match and add a rivalry action to it that is compatible with that, it'll inherit that title match setting into the rivalry action. So you could have potentially a title match. Let's just use an example. Let's say Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, WWE Universal title on the line. Cody Rhodes uses a rivalry action where he's distracting the champion Roman Reigns in the scenario in the match. So then the match gets updated to Roman Reigns versus someone else. Roman Reigns' title is still on the line. Cody Rhodes is going to do the distraction, and now suddenly there's a lot more at stake, where Roman Reigns could lose the title to another superstar because of that rivalry action.
That's awesome, man. That's great. So that's coming in a future update. Maybe not this one, but one of the updates down the line.
I feel like it's this update. There's a lot of patches I've been keeping track of, right? So sorry for not being certain about this, but yeah, we definitely have this feature coming in.
That's awesome, dude. What a excellent addition to the universe mode, and that just brings me back to what we were kind of talking about off air. Talking at Creator Fest, and I'm certain that a lot of other creators had talked to you about the same thing. But the rivalry actions incorporated within the PLEs is huge. So the fact that you guys added that on an update, it's massive. Everybody has been talking about that cash in money in the bank on a PLE for so long. And I honestly wasn't expecting it until something like 2K26 or maybe even further down the line, but you guys just popped it in there with an update. So how do you guys feel after updating that and getting such positive reaction and feedback from that patch update?
Our team was really happy that people were happy with that. Right, that was one of the big things I took back, from the Crater Fest, was that feedback. Like, we want cash-ins at PLEs, we want this stuff to happen.
Yes.
I kind of emphasized that a little bit, and so one of our engineers just is looking at that as like, oh yeah, I think I can do this, and then spend a couple hours on it. It's like, I've got it working. Okay, let's do it. Let's get
Perfect.
that in. So it's just one of those things where it's like, we've had we have a team that has been around for the project for a while. Well, we have a new engineer that joined us for 25. He's an absolute wizard. Whatever we want, he just figures out how to do it.
Wow.
But like, we've had this team for a while. It's growing. Our team is super talented. We've been fortunate to keep them together. So everyone's learning, everyone's building on better stuff, and we just we're making things work faster and better than ever before. So it's been an absolute thrill for Universe this year, just to see it kind of like grow this way, and for the most part stay stable. I know we've got some issues that we're still hammering out, but I feel like we're headed in a really good direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys are staying on top of it. And, the updates are about what, 2 weeks apart from each other, maybe a week. Sometimes we get hot fixes a lot of the time if something major is going on with the game. So, I mean, you guys have been staying on top of it this year for WWE 2K25. We got some DLC releasing, what, 2 days, a day? When they hear this, probably a day, right? This Wednesday?
Wednesday, May 14th, I believe, is the DLC pack for the new superstars.
That's awesome. I know 4 of them. We haven't announced the celebrity guest yet, and I don't know if you can do that right now because I think 2K has their own thing that they're probably planning to announce with the celebrity pack. But Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Motor City Machine Guns coming into a WWE game. I never thought I'd see the day. I'm stoked for this. I'm stoked for this. Obviously, Stephanie McCurr and Julia. This is a huge DLC pack. Not sure what the celebrity guest is. How we feeling about Motor City Machine Guns in the WWE video game?
So I'll be honest, I'm not really too familiar with their matches outside WWE. But what I saw of the ladder match, the 3-way ladder matches, is absolutely, that was such a banger of a match, and those guys were killing it. So that's awesome that we're getting more people into WWE, especially wrestlers who have this pedigree kind of built up. Yeah. There's a big legacy, makes them, I think, pretty big fan favorites coming in. So
yeah, I was stoked to hear that Motor City Machine Guns actually signed to the WWE. Obviously, there's some other competition out there too, and they've had quite the career, right? It's a long career, so I just wanted to see them in the WWE at least once, and possibly get my hands on a video game that they're in. And 2K25 is the video game, man. But I have to ask you, I'll ask you a couple more questions, but I got to ask you this one because I know that there are a lot of fans of this part of the universe mode. I don't really play it too much, but are there any plans to make the superstar mode more dynamic to feel like more of a career in a future patch or later installment in the game? Is there any like special things that we're going to be planning for superstar mode within the universe mode?
It's definitely something that I don't think we've put enough time into to kind of really build it up since we added it in 2K22. But I do want to make sure that it does get love. That it really, like you said, kind of like that career light mode.
Yeah,
kind of like the older WWE game days, the SVR games. I feel like it's kind of like, in my mind, that's a really appropriate direction time to go for. We make sure we don't want to step on like the toes of other modes too much, right? Obviously,
right.
yeah, we've got very heavy career modes that we don't want to really get into like this big character growths and arcs before, and like the show, showcases
I'm gonna be on.
history.
I'm gonna be honest. I probably have only turned that on since 2K22. I've probably only popped in the superstar version of the mode maybe once, but I mean, obviously, the universe mode has always just been one of those modes that, hey, this is my open sandbox. I want to control everybody, not just one character. But if there was something within that mode that kind of, hey, you have to try this, you know what I mean? Like, you got to come in here and try it. And I know that people, you know, shout out to like, what's the status? What's the status is a big fan of superstar mode. And that's all he plays. That's the only part of universe mode that he plays. So I think of people like him, and I do get a lot more comments from people in the community too that ask about superstar mode. And I really can't answer them because I don't dive into the mode as much, but I figured I would at least get one question in about the superstar mode within universe mode before we let you go, man. But you've already given us a teaser for the updates coming in for WWE 2K25. Is there anything else that you might be planning for future patch updates, kind of like what we're going to be getting this Wednesday? Is there any other tricks that you got up your sleeve for universe mode?
I don't want to say never, but our biggest focus right now is just monitoring what the community, what social media is saying, what you guys are saying about like any issues you're running across. We're keeping an eye out for bugs and stability. We're trying to hammer out the biggest offenders that we can. So making sure that you guys have a universe that's fun to play all throughout this year is kind of where our headspace is at right now.
Awesome, man. Hey, Cristo, thank you so much for the time, man. I hope we can do this again. It was nice finally meeting you in person at Creator Fest, and hopefully we can do that again next year as well. But keep killing it, man. We're enjoying the universe mode this year. I can speak on behalf of most of the players that I'm in touch with, and we're happy with it, man. You guys are staying on top of things. You guys are fixing the issues that are coming along. The patch updates are rolling around pretty fast, and you keep giving us little gems too in these patch updates. So I look forward to seeing what the future looks like for the universe mode, man. You guys absolutely killed it this year.
Thank you. We're happy that you guys are happy.